Thank you, Les Concordia. Minister, in terms of the wider and often overlooked point around our national electricity grid, it is opportune to outline that there is only one electricity grid in Ireland, and it is operated by EirGrid and owned by the government. Today, Ireland's electricity is generated approximately by gas 40%, wind 40%, coal 10%, peat, oil, solar 10%. Another point worth noting here today is that the Irish electricity grid is largely constructed for fossil fuel usage. This means that the grid is not capable of handling large volumes of renewable energy, and any energy analyst worth their salt will tell you that the two energy sources do not mix well. That is why the government's ongoing claims and sweeping statements of having 80% of Ireland's electricity coming from renewables by 2030 are hollow and empty without the huge investment in the grid which is currently needed. Estimates by EirGrid suggest that a minimum investment of over £2 billion is needed to upgrade the national grid. Thus, based on what is contained within the bill, allows EirGrid to proceed with higher borrowings to meet such future investments. The outcome of the approach is crystal clear, in that the government's policy plan will mean that much higher electricity bills in the future, as this money is recouped through higher charges to energy suppliers, which will ultimately be directly passed on to the consumer. There have been various reports leaked or published which set out the position and warning that Ireland will not have enough energy to meet the demand for the next 5 winters. One report by EirGrid explains that this is due to the government's decision to close power plants, coupled with a rise in demand for electricity. The current government frenzied green policies are pushing ahead with effective bans on peat harvesting, together with bans on the extraction of domestic energy sources, mean that this one-dimensional, solely focused on cleaner, fueler sources at some point in the future will force a situation of the lights going out, Minister. Energy costs and security have arguably never been more central in terms of public discourse. As the war in Ukraine rages, we are now acutely aware of just how fragile energy security is across Europe, but especially so here in Ireland. That is why our independent group moved a P&B motion 2 weeks ago in the House, which sought to force the government to act. However, like all proposals from the opposition benches, the government blocked it and voted against developing Ireland's domestic energy security roadmap. It could have been a solution to some of our fuel crises. Develop the oil field off Barry Row. This could be potentially one of the largest oil fields off of Europe. Since the extremist Green, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael government has taken over power in Ireland, they have been constantly posturing about their glossy plans to build renewable capacity and achieve power 80% of our energy needs by renewable sources come 2030. However, this race for renewables has not even begun. The pre-season training and lacks any credible action plan. This extremist Green, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael government accuses us of never having a solution to all the crises that are happening, one after the other. I personally handed Eamon Ryan a solution over a year ago, a proposal for a floating LNG. He failed to act on it. Our motion 2 weeks ago about the Barry Row oil field off the coast of Cork. He failed to act on it. Turf, Bennett, it's very simple. He failed to act on that. Briquettes, we have plenty of our own. Stop importing. The carbon footprint from importing must be massive into this country, and it's completely ignored by this Green government. The only EirGrid in Ireland owned by the government to reduce price of electricity for every man, woman and child. And fuel, stop the tax taking, nearly €1 on every litre. There are solutions, Minister, that will at least improve the living lives of the people in this country. These, as I say, are the solutions, but this extremist Green, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael do not listen, or do not want to listen. Each and every person in this government are responsible for the downfall of what is to become in Ireland. And talking about not listening, it's obvious to me what's going on. The Taoiseach today, when I brought up about the fuel situation where there's boats tied up in piers that can't go because they can't afford to go. They suspended standing orders in the council yesterday to talk about this. One Fianna Fáil councillor said he knew someone that had to go for his catch to cost him 42,000. He was tied up. He wasn't going to move, the same as other. And the Taoiseach today said, "Oh, I don't understand. I didn't hear you." In the name of God, is that the sympathy he has for the people of West Cork? Is that the sympathy he has for the farmers and the fishermen who are severely struggling at this present time? And he has to remove himself from the position he's in if he isn't able to understand the position they're in. They're not able to farm the land because contractors can't pay €1 extra for the price of diesel that he priced out of control. They're not able to fish because they've tied our boats up to the pier because they can't pay the 40,000 50,000 to go to fish. You're in trouble, and you're going to know it in the next election, and it needs to come very quick.